Hi friends, welcome to Life with Loverly. I'm your host, Brittany Sjogren. I'm excited to share my heart with you beyond the 15 seconds we get on Instagram. Grab an iced coffee and let's do life together. Hi friends, welcome back to today's episode of Life with Loverly. Nichelle is back on the podcast. Why does it feel like it's been like a really long time?
It's been a minute.
Since we've been in the studio together.
Yeah. You had Dad on last week. And then you winged one on your own because
yes,
I couldn't be a part of that one. And then I was on vacation.
Yes.
So it has been a minute.
It's crazy. I'm happy to be back. Welcome
Seriously.
back to the studio.
And we're talking about something so fun.
We're going to talk all about shopping today, which I feel like we haven't gotten into the nitty gritty of exactly how I go about shopping. But I think it's so... in this, like, as an influencer, as a blogger, that this is my career, I do shopping a little bit different than most do, or somebody who's not in this line of work. And I think even you being behind the scenes now, you're like, wow, there's a lot of like thought that goes into things that you didn't even know before you started here.
Absolutely not. First of all, I didn't even know that I would really be part of that. Joining Team Loverly Gray. I was like, that's Brittany's job. She's going to pick out her clothes and I'm just going to help, be the creative part of it. And then it's like, first of all, you do have to do a lot of shopping.
Yes.
And
I would say like 90% of what is shared across the Loverly Gray platforms is all things like I picked out or wanted or found. But then I also have help with like sourcing items, or just like, oh, what if we tried this, or hey, did you see this yet? And it's like we're all kind of like scouring our favorite places. But yeah, there's a lot that
goes into it. Just from like in a week span, because you may share several different brands throughout the week, and you're so particular about not putting out like repetitive content. Like it's really thought through. Okay, how can we use this? You're known for Workwear Wednesdays, so we've got to think through, okay, workwear at one point, if not two, or a couple. But then there's all these other things that people want help shopping for. Events, going to, I don't know, the mountains, going to a theme park. There's so many activities that people need help with. So being able to like kind of stop and be like, okay, how can we use these brands to be creative and help everybody out there that you can touch. Yeah. It's
crazy because I've even thought about starting like a completely separate account for like styled looks as far as like when people are like, hey, what would you wear to Disney? Or what should I wear to this bachelorette party in Nashville where we're all in our 30s and moms, like we don't know what to dress like. And I'm always like, gosh, I could start an entire separate account that just has like the type of event and then like several outfit ideas.
Yeah.
If I had like another entire, like if I could clone myself, then maybe we could do that.
But you'd have to probably have another team. It's so much work, guys. I don't think you understand. It's so much work that all of the thought and the effort that gets put into it. I don't know, just remember that as we go through and we talk through some of the ways that she shops and like what her thought process and how it may vary from like somebody who's just every day, like, walking into a store, just seeing what they like. I don't know, it's cool. It's a cool process.
Yeah. So we figured we'd walk you through what it looks like to go shopping with Loverly Gray and some of my thought processes behind why I pick what I pick.
What would your mom say about little Brittany? How is little Brittany different than adult Brittany when it comes to shopping?
Well, I guess like when I used to go shopping with my mom, and that was like the main person I would always go shopping with because she loved to shop too, and it was always like I felt like an outlet, like, oh, we're gonna run into TJ Maxx and like walk around. It was like therapeutic for her. And so we would go into these stores, not even with the intention to buy anything, but just to like look around.
Yeah.
And so I got so many ideas from like such a young age by just constantly like looking at clothing or home decor. And one thing, like as soon as you said that, the first thing I thought about when we used to go shopping together was like the sale rack. it was like we didn't even stop to see what was in the front of the store. It was like you immediately just went to the back of the store where the sale rack was. Because in my mind, I was like, I can get more things
yes, ma'am.
from the sale rack. Like I could maybe get like one thing that was regular priced, or maybe I could get 3 things from the sale rack and it would be about the same price. And then I would have 3 items I could style at home with like my jeans or different, whatever, like the, however I was going to end up styling it. But in my mind, it was always about like, how could I like use this as another outfit idea? Mm-hmm. And so we shopped the sale rack like all the time. It's funny because I feel like it really wasn't until I kind of got into this job that I started to look more at like the front of stores.
Yes.
Because I was also just, a very smart shopper. My mom was always like good with money. And it wasn't like when I was growing up, we were like average, I wasn't getting like a lot of clothes all the time. It was mostly like if I needed them.
Back to school shopping, Christmas, maybe stuff like that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we had like a limit. Like here's like, we're going to spend X amount of money on your back to school. So like, this is what you have. Make sure so I would always want to make that money go as far as I could.
Yes.
And like a sale rack or going, like I loved the back to school, like tax-free weekend at like an outlet mall was like my jam.
So fun.
Yeah, I could like get behind
yes.
some outlet shopping. And I would leave with so much stuff because I was just smart about, okay, I'm going to like invest in this thing, but then I'm going to get like all these other shirts that I can wear with that one thing. And so sale shopping was a huge thing. I even remember, this is kind of crazy. I look back at this and I'm just like, my parents knew what they were doing. But at the time I was like, why are they doing this? I turned 14. I had this dry erase board in my bedroom. And I started a countdown from the time I turned 14 for a year until I could get my learner's license. And I had this countdown and I was like going to get my learner's license. As soon as I got my learner's license, I was like so excited to drive with my parents in the car, obviously. And then it was like, I was learning how to drive. That felt like this independent step. I was going to be able to, once I could drive by myself, I was going to be able to go shopping by myself.
Oh, yeah.
And I wanted to get a job because I babysat from like an early age and was like making money. So I had like some money to spend on my own. But my parents, I had an allowance, or my mom would buy me the things I need. But it was never like I had friends who like would get stuff anytime they wanted and like the price didn't matter. But for me, it was like, you don't need that. Or if you really want it, then you can babysit extra hours,
right,
do extra things around the house or whatever.
The things that we didn't know that we'd appreciate now.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. And so when I turned 16, I was like, okay, like for sure I'm getting a red Xterra. Nissan Xterra was like the car of my dreams.
It was the car for many years for a lot of people.
I
so funny.
wanted that car so bad, and I was for sure that my dad was gonna come down. I just remember like looking out the driveway and I was like, he's gonna drive down any moment. It's on my birthday. He's driving down and it's gonna be in my new Xterra. I didn't get a new Xterra. In fact, I didn't get a new car. I got his car and he got a new car for obvious reasons. And I was so bummed. And so I was like, well, then what are they gonna like give me for my birthday? And they gave me, I remember they gave me $1,600. And they said they like broke it down to be, they gave me like, I guess it would have been like $400 was like just like something I could do if I wanted to like put that in saving. The year of 16, you have 12 months in it. Mm-hmm. So I got $100 each month that I had to like use instead of my mom being like, oh, I'm randomly gonna like buy you this top. It was like, that's where I started to use the money from. So it was like a way that they were starting to teach me to like budget. Yeah. And it didn't really go over that well the first time we went into Target, and I was like, okay, like here's the stuff I want to Target today that I quote unquote need. And my mom's like, well, you have money, like we opened you a bank account, you just got all this birthday money and you're, you know, supposed to save it out. This would apply to you shopping and buying out of that money. And I was like, no, like that is like my money. My mom really had to be like hard and kind of like, no, this is. Yeah. And so then quickly I was like, okay, well, like I want to get a job. So I got a job at Splurge-Worthy. Was my first job when I turned 16. I rocked the drive-through. That was my jam. Yeah. I lived in a college town, and these like hot college guys would go through the drive-through, and I would always be like, this is the best job ever.
I got this, guys.
You know, because I'm just like watching all these cute guys drive by getting their sandwiches. Yeah. Anyway, so then I like worked there for a few months, and then I went to Canucans, which was an outdoor store that had like clothing and like camping gear, but like also cute clothes. It was like such an interesting vibe in there. They had like everything. And I worked there for like probably 3 years after that. But I just knew like I wanted to make money so that I could like buy whatever it was. But I had these values from my mom being like, everything's gonna go on sale, you know, wait till it goes on sale, be a smart shopper. And she had like instilled all of this in me from like growing up. And so then when I started to like get my own money and had to like figure out how I was gonna spend it, I kind of kept that mentality of wanting like more options for myself. But I was also really good about cleaning out my closet, and we had like this store here called Plato's Closet, and I would sell clothes to them, and then like rebuy designer jeans there and like wear them, you know. So it was like I was figuring out ways to get investment pieces without spending a ton of money, but still like making fashionable like statement outfits, but like still being very affordable, which I feel like really still plays true to like what I do today.
Oh yeah.
I mean, aside from like a few designer bags, everything is
but
like...
those are your investment pieces. Like those mean something to you. You've hung on to those. They go with almost anything.
Yeah. That would be my like, if I'm gonna like splurge on something or save up for something, it's a designer bag.
So what I'm hearing you say is mom and dad really are, I guess, the driving force to you doing what you're doing today.
Pretty much.
Because you walked into work at Insight Global sharing all of these deals and these awesome finds that you found that led you into being a blogger.
Exactly. Because my mom was always like, okay, I remember going into Loft with my mom, which if you've been following Love Really Gray from the beginning, you know Loft was like one of the first brands that I was like going hard on the paint with. Like, and I would say that I was like one of the first influencers who started sharing Loft, and then a lot of people started sharing Loft afterwards. Right. And honestly, like that's the point of like influencers and how it's changed over the past few years. But like, they bring back up stores that maybe you kind of forgot about. Like the amount of messages that I've received over the years that are like, gosh, like I forgot about Loft until I saw you do this try on and loved the pieces. And now I'm like shopping at Loft all the time. Mm-hmm. And so my mom was a teacher, and Loft did like this like teacher discount for teachers, and if you shopped on like the first Tuesday of the month, you got like an extra 15% off like whatever the teacher discount was, and it applied above the sales. So like discounts on discounts on discounts is what my mom is hearing. And I remember like going in there with her to the one that we have in Athens, which is still here, and going in there with her like when I was in high school, and she would be getting some new like things to wear to work, and I would be looking through the sale rack being like, what of this could I make work for like a high schooler? You know, because some of it was a lot more like business or professional, but they had a few pieces that could like swing a little ways. And I clearly was like, you know, if you knew me in high school, I was okay with like stepping outside of the box as far as my outfits went. or trying new things. And I remember, I'll never forget walking into Loft with her. She was getting some of her tops, and I saw this denim, like it was a pair of jeans that had suspenders with it. And it was like wide leg, dark jeans, high rise, and it had like this like suspender. So it kind of was, it wasn't overalls, right, but it was like you wore like a really pretty kind of like blouse underneath it. But I had a DECA competition so I was in DECA, which is like a marketing club in high school.
Same. Wow, this just says so much about us.
And we had a competition in Atlanta, and I was like, I'm gonna wear these pants.
I love it.
And I got this really cool blouse that had like a statement neck, like a big tie at the neck that was tucked into the pants, and then the suspenders were on the outside. And it was like, and by this point I'd already had my like short haircut. So I mean, I've been rocking short hair since high school. So like this was a whole vibe. And I remember being like, this is me. Like, I have arrived. It was so vivid in my memory. You know, I mean, another time in high school, I will never forget the amount of stares I got wearing what I wore to school one day. But I wanted to wear these like denim shorts that I had that were kind of like mid-thigh. Like, it wasn't like long to your knee, but it wasn't like booty shorts. It was kind of like in the middle. And they had this like really cool cuff. Like, they were just like a great pair of denim shorts. And I wore this button down, I think it was like a yellow button down with like, I had it tucked in, I had a belt on, and I had the sleeves rolled. And I asked one of my like good guy friends if I could borrow his tie that he wore. And I literally wore a tie with this outfit, and like had like a big bag and heels. I had heels on in high school.
Was this around when Avril Lavigne came out?
I don't know.
Maybe. I feel like that was kind of a vibe at a short period of time.
I was making it like dressy.
I love
like
that.
Not punky.
Yeah.
I still had on probably nude heels, because like, did I ever own black shoes? Probably not. And I remember like walking down the hall with such confidence, and I literally did not care if somebody was like, what is that girl wearing? I mean, I was like, could not have been more proud when he handed me that tie when I walked in the door that day. I put this tie on all throughout the day, and then at the end I was like, thanks for the tie, handed it, and like walked to my car.
That's so like funny. So that's something that is so important, the confidence part.
Yes.
That like, right, and I think that we're going to get into that a little bit, but confidence plays such a huge part of it. I went to a very small high school, and it's so funny. I laugh about the whole DECA thing, because our DECA class was like all of like, I don't know, 8 people. It was very small. And I went to Express to get my outfit for the DECA conference that we had.
Loft versus Express.
I was also, how many years ahead? 5? It was just a little different. So confidence comes into play because, again, I didn't even think about it my senior year, any of my high school, honestly. I was just like, I'm gonna wear what's comfortable, I'm gonna wear what feels good, what I enjoy purchasing, because I was the same way. I went out and got a job, I think I was 14 when I got my first job, and then had a full-time job in the summer when I could, because I wanted to buy clothes. That was like the goal. It was a car, but it was really because I wanted clothes. But I never thought once about worrying about what I was wearing. I just was like, I'm gonna rock this. I love this. And I got best dressed, which I laughed at my senior year. I was like, wait, what, me? Who? Me?
I remember when you told me that in the interview, and you're like, or we were like, well, tell us something about you or something, and you said like, oh, I was best dressed in high school. And I was like, what are the chances? I'm interviewing somebody who got best dressed in high school.
It was funny, but it really does come down to what you're wearing, what you're purchasing. You purchase and wear with confidence, and you're gonna rock it.
Exactly. And I feel like that's the one thing. I feel like over the years I've gotten messages of people, and you can like, they'll send me a picture and they're in an outfit that I've suggested, and maybe it's a little like we're mixing patterns, or they've clearly stepped out of their comfort zone, but you can just see this smile on their face. and the message being like, I got so many compliments wearing this, and like I would have never picked it, but I saw you wearing it, and I just, that I absolutely love reading that type of thing, or just knowing that people are trusting what I'm saying to give an outfit a try. And then they feel so good about themselves in it. I think that is so fun.
You can tell when you feel good in what you're wearing. And that was one of the things that I know that you and I talk about this a lot, because you do get this a lot. People will reach out and they're like, well, can you show this on a different body type? Because I don't know if it'll work on my body type. Or I don't know if it'll work on my size. Or, does it come in the size? How does this look on different people? There's so many questions around, like, I'm not sure that would look good on me. And this is why we bring up confidence. Go for it. Try it. You don't know until you try. I think right before we started recording, I got really passionate about this. And it's only because I followed Brittany before I worked here. And it took me a second, and I was like, that's really cute. I'm going to go try it on. And there may be some things that didn't work, but there were a lot more that did. And I wouldn't have known if I didn't go try.
Right. And I think that was one thing, even when you started, that you kind of said, like, there have been so many things that I've tried, like thinking maybe it wouldn't work, but then I tried it and I was surprised that it did work.
Right.
And I remember thinking, like, I am so glad that you, like, tried it.
Right.
And didn't just let your mind be like, that's not going to work on me. Like, if your just overall vibe is the negative side of things, then like that's what you're gonna think anyway.
Right.
But if you can just open up your mind a little bit and try to be like, this could work on me, like what do I have to lose? Especially if it's like an item I'm sharing that's like a Target or Old Navy and you happen to be going by one, pop in and try it on first. And I mean, nowadays so many places do like free shipping, free returns.
Yes.
So even if it like didn't work, you could always like send it back or return it. But I think one reason I also try to give like such specific like details around the sizing and the fit, and again like why I share like what size I'm wearing in reference so people can like know for themselves what size they would wear based off of what I'm wearing, is so that you don't have to return it. Because if I say, hey, I sized up on this and like here's what it looks like, here's the flow of it, I would suggest the same, and then you do that and it works, you don't have to return it. So, but to me, I'm doing all this stuff to like help my shopper or help my person who is following me and wants to make the purchase. I want to make it as like crisp and clear and clean and easy for you to do that as possible. But I've learned over the years like how that is gonna work. And it's kind of like why we do the shopping and do certain things the way that we do.
And the more you try and the more you branch out, you're going to start learning what style silhouettes fit you best. So maybe they don't all work, but out of that you find several styles and fits that work best on your body type, because we're not all shaped different. Like that's just that is the way that it is.
Right.
We are meant to be different. So the thing is like, if you don't try, you will never figure that out. The other great thing that you do is you shop at a lot of brands that have great size range. So yes, there may be some boutiques that are more limited, but you also you have such a good variety of your Targets, Walmart's, Old Navy's, Loft. Like they have so many sizes to choose from. Like just go for it. Just go for it. Try it.
It's very interesting because another thing I feel like I don't really do a ton of is like reading reviews before I purchase items. And I've never been like a review reader, mostly because like I've been shopping for so long and I just find joy and passionate that I'm the one like that's going to be giving my followers the review. So I don't want to I want to go into it with like a clear mind.
Right.
And so I hardly ever read reviews on certain things, especially like clothing, like because I want to give it a try for myself and then see feel, so then I can pass the message along, or if it's something I want to share. And I guess maybe if I don't like it, I usually tend to just not share what I don't like as much.
Right.
I think there's like a few reasons into that, but one is because like I don't want to speak negatively to an item.
You want to be able to stand behind it if you're going to share it.
And there are definitely times where I've shared something, I've been like, love this, I feel like this is going to be great. And then I go, like maybe I wash it a few times and I'll come back and be like, hey, like this actually hasn't held up as great as I thought. Just a heads up, if you haven't purchased it yet, just know you're probably going to want to like hand wash it. Or I try to like speak to like those type of things later.
Yeah. Guys, with reviews, you have to remember it's just like customer service lines. It's so much easier for somebody who is in a negative headspace or who's upset about something. They're the people who 8 times out of 10 are probably going to be the ones that are putting reviews on there. Like, okay, it did not work out for them. But what you're not seeing is the other, you know, the 80% of people who it did work for, because it's so much easier to complain about something than it is to speak highly about something. So that's the other thing with reviews.
Yeah. And that's why I just kind of am like, I just want to try this for myself and see and make my own judgment. And then I'm sharing it with a group of people who would say like a majority of them have been here for a while. They trust what I'm like, my style, my options have worked for them in the past. So like, that's who I'm going to give the review to. And, you know, none of this is like this whole thing that I'm doing is like optional for people to consume. Right. You know, it's like if you don't like it at some point, like you don't have to buy it. There's never like a force like you are here, you must buy this now. Yes. You know, so you get to decide like what you consume, what you purchase, and not everything is going to work for every single person every time. So I think that's the other thing is just like as you're watching influencers, like, you know, consume what you feel like is best for you. Buy what you feel like is best for you. You don't have to have every single thing just because it's like been talked about on the internet a bunch.
Yeah. Do you prefer to shop online or go in store still?
I love an in-store experience. I mean, especially like before COVID, I was always an in-store person because I just liked the experience of like touching the clothes. And again, I think because I enjoy shopping so much and like that's always been a part of me is like going into a store. I think I have been able to be really good at my job because I can touch and see and feel and like know the flow and be able to like give you guys that information a lot sooner than when I order stuff online. I don't know what it's going to be like until I get it in. And sometimes I get stuff in and I'm like, oh, ew, I wouldn't have bought this if I would have known this was the material. Or I didn't notice it didn't have a lining. You know, it looked like it did on the website or whatever. Yeah. So I feel like I still love the store experience. And I feel like there's just like, I like just visualize like styling things. If I can see like, oh, here's a top, like, oh, okay, here's some pants. Let me see, like, I have something like this at home. Okay, perfect. I know I'm going to be able to make this outfit out of it. But maybe I wouldn't have been able to like easily visualize that on the computer.
I know. That's kind of why I asked you that question, because I will tell you, you are really good about picking out some great things online that somebody else probably wouldn't pick. I think the ones that still, I'm shook inside at some of the models that are on H&M and the way that they're usually like squatting or bent over. They're not necessarily showing the whole outfit very well. And we get packages in from H&M. I'm like, where did you find this? How did you figure out that this was going to be a good one?
I know. I think it's just over like years of shopping at some of these brands that I've worn for so long and knowing a lot of the names, or like they'll put like the material in the name of the dress. And so then if I see that and I know it's been something that's worked for me in the past, I'm like, okay, forget about what it looks like on this model. If I like the print and I know it's like one of the names, I'll just try it. But yeah, some of this stuff I'm like, what are they trying to sell here? Yeah. Or sometimes I'm like, I'm glad that they didn't do a good job merchandising it because then that gave me the opportunity to sell more.
That's exactly what I'm
wear it
thinking to
more.
myself. I mean, you are finding these gems that I don't think anybody else would think to even try purchasing. Because sometimes, I mean, even online, it looks different than it would on a hanger in the store.
Mm-hmm.
And I, sorry to blast H&M. They were just the first one that I thought of.
Yeah.
There's so many
true.
brands that do it that way. I mean, Walmart, you got to think, does it that way. They stand straight up and down. It's like there's no movement to it. But that's one thing that is so cool about, again, you being able to like visualize and like that product so well and can introduce it to your followers if that's something they had not found before. You know what I mean?
It's funny because so many times I think like I wish I had so much more time to like share different ways to wear every single outfit that I wear, every single piece. Because a lot of times when I'm shopping, I can visualize very quickly like 3 or 4 ways to wear something, but I don't always have like all of the pieces or all like so much time to showcase every single one of those. So then I have to kind of pick like what is going to be the get through to the most amount of people, and then hopefully some of my other styles will remind them that shirt is similar and I could do this with it. But I a lot of times wish I had more time to like share more ways, because when I see something I can see several ways to wear it, but not everybody can do that. Especially, I mean, that's why I try to offer like, here's 3 ways to wear this. Or a lot of my reels, I show like repeating outfits or repeating like base pieces. Work pants, here's like, I mean, you could go back through my workwear reels and see one pair of pants styled like 30 different ways for the last year.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a month's worth of outfits. But it's, I don't know. I wish there was more time to kind of share some of that stuff, because I think that's what people like. But then also it's really interesting because stuff sells out and I have no control over that.
Yeah.
And so if I put so much effort into like showing y'all a bunch of ways and then like within the 24 hours it's gone, it's like so hard to then use it to recreate items.
Yes, you do a really good job. I'm excited to see next week Nordstrom sale. Whenever you start pulling the items that you're interested in, and a lot of them are in the same, like, obviously family that you tend to purchase year after year, but seeing you recreate outfits and then turning around and with what you have based on what's sold through, still being able to share those pieces but mix it up for those who maybe missed it and they haven't had a chance to shop yet. It's really fun to watch.
Yeah, so much goes in behind the scenes. I mean, I think even too, I feel like I'm constantly shopping. Like 2 weeks ago, we kind of looked around and we were like, I feel like none of the items we have right now are in stock.
Yeah.
And that's also hard because while I want to continue recreating some of these outfits, it's really frustrating for people when I share something and they can't buy it.
Yeah.
And that was something I kind of learned early on. If I'm going to be on stories, like talking, like 9 times out of 10, somebody's going to be like, where's your top from? What's that dress? And so I try to really wear stuff that is either that I'm like actually wearing and like showcasing and gonna post about on Instagram, or that is available for somebody to go and purchase. Because it's like, at the end of the day, like, this is a sales business. Like, I'm in the business of making money here, and I want to be able to like share items that people can then see how I'm wearing it, be inspired, and go purchase it and do the same thing. But can't do that if
it's like running a store. Yeah, it's like running a store for you, but in your own like box. In Instagram, you want to have things available for people to purchase. I mean, so literally she takes time out of every morning and she will look in her closet and she will make sure it's available before she puts it on her body.
And sometimes
she loves you guys.
I'm lazy and I'm like, this isn't in stock, but I really wanted to wear it today. Like, I'll change before I get on stories. because they like know people will start asking, where is everything from? But I also feel like I save the pieces that I really love, and like those are things I wear on the weekends or times when I'm like going out with friends, and it's not like necessarily I'm publishing like, oh, look where we are, or it's more like personal time. And that's where I wear a lot of the pieces that I've maybe had for years. And sometimes I show it and say like, this is old. And other times I change if I want to talk about something on stories.
That's the hard part about your job, is that you can't get too attached sometimes.
Yeah.
It's almost like sad. It makes me sad, you know?
I definitely have pieces that I'm like, I don't care if this is...
Yeah.
Or I like, even when I'm shopping, I will purposely buy things that I'm like, I know this isn't going to be available, but I love it so much, and it's going to be like something that's great for me. And it's things like I use for inspiration for my own self, or some of these pieces that like aren't available for everybody to shop, like inspire me to look for different things that I can find that people can shop later. Or, you know, I mean, a few years from now, hopefully there will be a Lovely Gray clothing line, and some of my favorite pieces over the years are like pieces that have given me inspiration. If you go in my closet and you see like the section that is like what I've kept for years, it's kind of the same style. And so to me, I'm like, here are silhouettes I'm going to go back to when I create a dress line. Here's what I'm going to go back to, because this is what I love so much that like, even if it's out of stock, I still want it to be like part of my closet.
Yeah. How do you find your style every year? Do you kind of wait for what's coming out, like after things have been designed, and like, let's say Nordstrom sale, for example, that's kind of like a snapshot into fall, right? Do you wait for things to come out and say, okay, this is kind of like the vibe this season, or do you just kind of go like kind of wherever your heart takes you, like this is my jam right here, I'm feeling this right now?
I feel like I have a little bit more of like a classic style, so I'm always gonna kind of err for like the more classic options over the like super trendy, you know, some of the styles I'm just like, that's just not me. Or it's like maybe like from a different era that I'm just like, I don't really want to go back to like the early 2000s. So I feel like there's like 3 like zones in like the fashion industry. Like one is like super trendy, what's coming, maybe it's like recycled fashion. And then I think there's like super classic, that is more just like your safe pieces, like your classic button downs, like slacks, like things that are just like gonna be your staples. And then I feel like there's more of trends, but still safe, but
maybe a few
pattern
pieces
play
to add to like your classics kind of thing.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so I feel like I fall on those two sides of things, where it's like there's trendy pieces that go well with classics, and then there's also just like the staples. That's kind of where I tend to stay. And sometimes I'll try something new, but I don't know. I'm not as much of a like wait and see what it's gonna be. Sometimes I switch it up, but I think like my like pattern play and trying different like patterns together is where I kind of switch things up a little bit and test the waters, especially when I was going to work all the time and like wearing different outfits. You know, I was always mixing like florals and stripes, or like leopard print with a bright color, or trying like some of these like loud, I mean, I was in sales at the time too, and so I like wanted to be memorable to some of my clients who are meeting like several of me for different companies. So like not only did I want to like be professional, I wanted to be memorable, you know, and then like I had worked for this great company that like backed up our actual services. So I mean, it's me selling myself too.
Exactly.
And so that was like just another way I feel like I did that. And so to this day, I feel like that's where I can kind of like teeter the line of like what's trendy and what's not. And I mean, it's funny because I feel like I wear a lot more like cropped stuff now, with like still like a classic jean and then like a cropped maybe shirt or t-shirt now. And I think like maybe like 2 or 3 years ago, like I probably wouldn't have done that. And I would have been like, I'm not wearing a cropped shirt. But then now I feel like I wear cropped tees a lot.
It's
just
that,
like very tasteful.
It's that edge of like, okay, it's a classic top. It's not anything crazy, but it has a little bit of that trend to it, just a little hair.
Exactly. So that's kind of where I like to dabble. But I also think like my audience is very wide.
Very.
Anybody, I mean, young 20s, fresh out of college, working, like new working, to like 30s, like mom. And then I would say like 40, 50, even 60 is a big range of people. I mean, we get messages all the time that are like, I'm more your mom's age, but I love your style. I feel like some of the things I can wear too.
Because of the classic pieces.
Yeah. And like my mom and I would...
They survive over time, guys.
Exactly. It's funny because a lot of times if I go through and do a closet clean out, I always like have I'm like, Mom, here, come over and like, look, I'm cleaning out stuff. And she always is like, this is where she gets a lot of her clothes, is like from my closet, but then she like does her own thing too.
Oh, but yeah, because girl likes to shop.
Yeah. I mean, listen,
She's like, TJ Maxx, I got it.
Is her jam. And she's also like loves a good boutique. Like she
for sure.
is like the first to be like, have you been to this new boutique? I was getting a coffee the other day and I stopped in this boutique and I was like, and I'm like, I've never even heard of that boutique. She's always the one that keeps me up to date on like the new boutiques around town and like what they have. So she loves to I mean, this is where I get it from. Like, we love to shop and I've just made it a career. Yeah. It's funny because my dad on the podcast, he referred to me as the internet athlete of the family.
I died.
And it's literally the truth.
Yeah.
The rest of my family is real athletes, like hold gold medals and records and things like that.
Right.
Just on the internet.
I mean, it's a sport.
Yes.
All right, you just mentioned cleaning out your closet. In a simple way, because it can be a little complicated sometimes, but in a simple way, how do you go through and sort through maybe things that are, maybe out of season? How do you go through your closet and purge?
So I will say, before this was my career, I cleaned out my closet a lot because I was constantly like shopping the sale racks. I was bringing new stuff in, and I kind of came up with a rule that if I was going to bring something in, I needed to take something out. So I wasn't just like so much overflow, because you can definitely like hold things and it be like too much. Like you don't need everything. And so I would go through stuff and look at it and be like, when's the last time I wore this? And if it was longer than 6 months ago and it was like not in season, I would be like, do I really need this? Am I really going to wear this in the next and I would think about like what I had coming up, going on, other pieces I had recently gotten. And there were just some times that like clothes, I was like, okay, no.
Right.
Occasionally there would be things that like maybe I bought on a trip and it had like a special memory tied to it that I would keep. But for the most part, I had like a 6-month rule. Like if I hadn't worn it in 6 months, then we need to donate or, move to a different pile. And now I feel like I have so much more clothes than like what any normal person should ever have. So hear me when I say like the amount of clothes I have is not normal. Nobody should have this amount of clothes, but it's just part of my job with brands that I'm working with. Like some brands just gift me things, or they say, like, hey, we're dropping a new collection. We'd love to send you some pieces. And so we're constantly receiving items, which is amazing. And I'm super thankful for, because a lot of times I use what some of these are as like pieces to like add into a reel I'm styling, or it gives me inspiration to be like, I don't love the colors of this, but like I like the style of this shirt. I'm going to go search for something similar to this. So I get like inspiration from stuff that comes in. But I feel like if it's a piece that maybe is completely out of stock, never coming back in stock, that gets moved to a different closet.
Yep.
If it is something that I'm just like, we have something else similar, it could get moved to a different closet. Or if it's like a seasonal piece that I'm just like sometimes if I just don't feel like I'm really gonna wear it a lot, or if I can't style it several different ways to make it like worth it, it gets moved to a different closet. But that's one reason I love like selling clothes on Poshmark, or we do a closet sale and then we donate all of the proceeds from like Poshmark earnings, for the closet sale earnings, to charity. and because I'm really, the only reason I want to do that is so that somebody can get this item that maybe they didn't have the opportunity to buy, or it sold out before they could buy it, and then they have the chance to buy mine. And so that's really the only reason I actually like put my clothes on these, like, or else I would have just donate it to somewhere. But I'm like, I know I have a follower out there who was like, I really wish I would have bought that, and now it's sold out, can I buy yours? I mean, I get that request a lot. And so and I also just love being able to give back to charity. So it's not like I'm like selling it and then like pocketing the money or using it to like continue to buy clothes. And for the people who do that, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I'm not dogging anybody who does it that way, but just for us, like, that's what I choose to do. And so it makes me like feel not as bad for like going through my closet a little bit more often and cleaning things out, because I know the items are going to a good home of somebody who like really wanted it and just couldn't get their hands on it.
Like the closet sale, like I think after last year's, seeing the turnout and people showing up for the cause that it was for, because it was for St. Jude, and seeing the outcome, it makes us more excited. We're like, are you sure you need that? Let's just go put it in the closet sale pile.
Yeah.
Let's donate it to charity. Yeah, it's so fun.
I have loved, over the last year, people who came to the closet sale and bought things have like tagged me when they've worn it and been like, bought this at Lovely Grace closet sale, and it'll be like months later, and I just love seeing people in those pieces. So it just makes me genuinely happy to know that something that maybe like I am not wearing, somebody else is like, this is like a key piece in their closet, and they rotate it in their closet like monthly or weekly even, and it's something that they really loved. So I do clean out my closet. I do feel like if you wanted to clean out your closet, the 6-month rule is a great rule. The like, if you're bringing something new in, you need to donate something is a great rule. If you're kind of getting to a point where you're like, I have too many clothes, that's something that you can easily implement and rotate clothes out, and it's a great way to shop too.
Love that. And I do the 12-month rule. So like if we get back to that same season and I'm like not touching it, like what I'm seeing right now is summer stuff that I haven't touched, I'm like, goodbye. Goodbye.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it too. When I started the 6-month rule, we didn't have like a lot of closet space in our first house, and so I was like, I have no choice but to start getting rid of stuff. If I like know I'm probably not going to wear this again, toss her out.
Exactly.
Anyway, well, I feel like we covered so much.
I think that we could really talk forever.
Honestly, we could. There's like even things that I'm like, oh, we didn't talk about that.
Yeah, well, TBD, guys.
You know, we got some bonus episodes to record, so maybe we'll throw in a few random shopping tips in the future. Well, thank you so much for joining us on today's episode of Life with Loverly. Please share this episode with somebody you think will enjoy hearing about shopping. See you next week.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you enjoyed this podcast, please rate and review on the platform you listen on. It truly means the world to me. And don't forget to follow along on Instagram at Life with Loverly. Until next time.